All right, so if you're on the Twitters, the rumors about who is going to be Oklahoma's next defensive coordinator, they're rumbling, they're a tumbling, they're all over the place. And yeah, you might have been told that Oklahoma found their next defensive coordinator a couple weeks ago, and that candidate, they might be slipping down that coordinator search board. But today we got to talk about other rumors that are potentially being talked about, and man, that it's big name. Big name. So we're going to jump into it. We're going to discuss it. Before we do that, as always, make sure you join the discussion. Give me your guys' thought on who you think should be the next defensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma. And if you have not already, make sure you guys are hitting that like, hit the subscribe button. 65% of you that watch these videos, you're not subscribed. So pull up, pull a seat. Let me know you guys are here. Hit that subscribe button. Tell me you like the content. All right. So if you guys are on the Twitters, of course, a lot of you guys follow the national and big-time OU insiders across the industry. Sooner Scoop tweeted out today, is Jim Knowles a serious candidate for OU's defensive coordinator job? Sooner Scoop separates fact from fiction on the internet and on the interest level of this rumored candidacy. They probably need to say on the internet too. So if you want to read the article, go over to Sooner Scoop, check out the article. They do a great job over there. But I wanted to talk about this because if Jim Knowles was potentially a candidate for the Oklahoma defensive coordinator job, this would be a massive move underneath Brent Venables, and one that college football would have to go out there and take him seriously for, because Jim Knowles is one of the higher paid defensive coordinators in college football, just coordinators in general. And it would make Oklahoma's defense probably a top 5 defense in college football with the level of talent that he would have here. I mean, I think a lot of people remember the defense that Jim Knowles had when he was at Oklahoma State. That was a damn good defense. It held Oklahoma's offenses to some of their lowest totaled offenses in the Lincoln offensive productions in the Lincoln Riley era. So it would be, if Jim Knowles came to here, it'd be huge. Now, obviously, he's from Pennsylvania, so he's kind of out in that territory where he's originally from to begin with. His alma mater is Cornell, so there's really not a link to Ohio State like that. But man, this guy's a recruiter. In the cycle, he's got the borderline 5-star Riley Pettijohn. He's gotten Garrett Stover, who's a linebacker, Arvell Reese, Peyton Pierce. You guys remember him? Ended up committing to Ohio State pretty much on one visit after he was at Oklahoma, and a lot of people thought he was going to land here. Jim Knowles is a linebackers coach, so it kind of makes sense. He could kind of fill that role that Zach Alley left. But you would imagine Jim Knowles, if he came here to Oklahoma, would have a lot of autonomy in this defense, would probably be able to do a lot of things, be able to call the defense. And it's somebody that I think Brent Venables can hand the keys off to and trust. You're going to have a good defensive production. It'd be something that Brent Venables would be okay with. So, listen, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not here to validate any rumors that you've heard. I just want to talk about how big this would be and how big of a name this is. Obviously, I threw out the name Bob Stoops, but it was just for fun. It wasn't an actual anything that was sourced or anything like that. But Jim Knowles is kind of on that level of craziness. Now, obviously, I think Wes Goodwin is probably still on the table. A Clemson guy, right? Connections with Brent Venables, coaches the linebackers. He is from Grove Hill, Alabama. His alma mater is Mississippi State. You would have to wonder, though, if on the open market, Jeff Lebby would be interested in going after Wes Goodwin, especially with the kind of recruiter that he is. And I feel like he works better underneath Brent Venables, where he can help him kind of learn the scheme. But he's recruited linebackers and defensive linemen at an extremely high level. So Wes Goodwin, I think, could still potentially be an option for you. But he's not a name like Jim Knowles. He's not a guy where I think Brent Venables can just solely hand off the defense and trust that he's going to just go out there and stifle offenses, right? I don't think he's going to have that kind of leniency or that kind of autonomy. Now, another name that I briefly heard from a reputable person was Zach Arnett, currently not coaching anywhere right now, was at Mississippi State and San Diego State. This would be an interesting name. Now, his alma mater is at New Mexico, so you kind of have to wonder, like, if that job came open, would he go out there? But this is a guy that I think could come in underneath Brent Venables, run his defense, again, kind of not be on the same level of Jim Knowles in terms of like it would be just this ginormous hire. But I do think a guy like Zach Arnett would be given some autonomy to be able to go out there and call plays. One more name that I think would be interesting to pay attention to, and I think this all is going to come down to whether or not Steve Sarkisian actually takes a job in the NFL, but that would be Pete I believe Kwiatkowski out at Texas, currently the defensive coordinator out there. He's done a phenomenal job at helping Texas completely rebuild their interior defensive line and edge room, which was something that needed to happen for Texas to be able to kind of re-elevate to that top tier of college football and that echelon. And so he's got one of the top defenses in college football this year. I think it would be a crazy hire to be able to go out there and get a guy like Pete. I just don't know if it would happen. Other names that you could potentially look at that maybe happen, maybe not. Tosh Lupoi out of Oregon. If Dan Lanning actually ends up taking interest in some NFL jobs and actually ends up taking one, you'd imagine Tosh Lupoi not only would be probably a candidate for the Oregon job, but would also probably be a candidate for multiple top defensive coordinator jobs around the country. You also look at a guy like maybe Kane Womack at Alabama. I don't know if you could go out there and land like the number one, I think he's the number one highest paid coordinator in all of college football, and Blake Baker out at LSU. Remember, LSU snagged him from Missouri over the past recent offseason. I don't think you're grabbing Michigan's defensive coordinator, but everything that we're seeing right now looks like Oklahoma wants to make a splash at this hire. And if they do, not only do I think it sends waves on the recruiting trail, but I think it sends waves across college football that Oklahoma is taking being in the SEC as serious as they possibly can, and they want to compete at the highest level possible. So these are just some interesting names that if you're an Oklahoma fan, maybe you keep an eye on. Speculation is always fun during this time of the year. Who knew that Brent Venables would be looking for another defensive coordinator this offseason, just replacing both coordinators during this offseason after he just replaced both last season. But that's where we're at after Zach Alley left Brent Venables to go to the West Virginia Mountaineers. But I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear y'all's crazy thoughts, y'all's crazy theories. So make sure you guys join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about the rumors of Jim Knowles potentially, possibly considering coming to the University of Oklahoma as defensive coordinator. And let me know what you guys think about the channel. Hit that like, hit the subscribe button, and we will talk to y'all later.